Good afternoon, Barcelona. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. This venue is absolutely stunning. I'm Wael, and I have the honor of hosting today's discussion on real DeFi use cases and trends. While I don't claim to be an expert, I'm extremely passionate about the transformation of traditional financial products and an avid DeFi user. My role in today's discussion is to extract as much knowledge from our amazing panelists, Brad, Matteo, and Laura, on real DeFi use cases and unlocking the full potential of DeFi. So without further ado, let's dive into the world of decentralized finance, and let's meet our panelists. We'll start with Brad.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Yasar. I am the CEO of a neobank called Equify. And we wanted to be the proof that a financial institution that's regulated can actually be in DeFi and provide decentralized financial services and products. And we launched the platform 2 years ago, and the proof is in the pudding. So it's been an incredible journey, actually having a dream and having a vision about how to decentralize a very established traditional model like banking and coming to where we are today.
Hi all, I'm Matteo, the head of business development at Flux Finance. We're the first Algorand protocol for TVL. We aggregate more than 90 million on our platform. We started as a lending platform in 2022, and now we're trying also to expand the cross-chain with the help of Chainlink and Wormhole.
Hi, nice to meet you.
This is not working.
No. Hi, my name is Laura. I am originally from Spain, from the Basque Country, and I am the marketing and communications lead at Restake. We're part of the Lian Group, which is a big venture studio based in Switzerland, in Geneva. And my background is in political economy and mass media science. So yeah, looking forward to the discussion and see what challenges and use cases DeFi has to offer.
Awesome. We have a diverse group of experts, and we're going to get their unique perspective on unlocking DeFi's full potential. So DeFi has evolved. DeFi has evolved into a vibrant ecosystem with numerous real-world applications, and we're going to jump into the most notable ones. So DeFi has revolutionized how lending and borrowing works, with individuals all across the globe that could lend and borrow digital assets without an intermediary. So how do you envision the collaboration between both decentralized and centralized financial systems? I'll ask you, Brad.
All right. Well, the centralized systems are there. They are established, and they represent the most liquidity in the world right now. So imagining a DeFi world or a transition into a fully decentralized financial future without including them is very difficult. So where we see the crossroads, the intersection is bringing those existing models, but making them more inclusive and democratizing access. The reason why a lot of people are cut out of the traditional financial systems, whether it be banking or loans or cards, is the cost. If the individual or the entity doesn't bring enough value to the institution providing those services, then they are excluded by default because it doesn't fit in their business model. Where the technology helps change that and democratize access is it removes the intermediary costs, the middleman, the bank branches. Like Jimmy said, if you don't have to create a bank, but you can create a lending platform on a mobile device, now you eliminated all the real estate costs, you eliminated all the salaries of the people who need to maintain and run those offices, And so that allows more people to access the existing liquidity pools and existing products and services. So it's not so much that the old traditional system is out of it, it's more we generate more ways to interact with it because the liquidity is there. As you saw from one of the comparisons on the screen from the previous presentation, the traditional TradFi volumes were in billions, and the DeFi volumes of loans were in millions. I mean, that's a factor of 1,000 difference. So what we try to do with Equify is bring the two worlds together and allow the traditional people who may not be tech savvy to interact with people who need those loans, the microloans, the peer-to-peer loans, in a technology platform that is suitable and usable by both.
Awesome. And if we pivot to decentralized exchanges versus centralized exchanges, we've seen a huge adoption and advancement in DEXs, which are decentralized exchanges. But centralized exchanges are just more convenient, they're more user-friendly, and most of them have great off and on ramps. Do you think that decentralized exchanges will ever make centralized exchanges obsolete? What are the hurdles these DEXs are facing? Do you want to fill that up, Matteo?
The difference between centralized exchange and decentralized exchange right now is reducing more and more. We've seen various improvements under the UX side and on liquidity side, but there's still this gap of like liquidity and the value creation that decentralized exchange have to fill up. And we've seen many improvements also in the derivative side where checks have been dominating for the last years. We saw GMX and other providers giving us an example of what the DeFi is capable of. And I think that this gap will fill up more and more. As in Fox Finance, we're trying to fill this gap by offering the best user experience for our customers, for our users more than customers, because we see them as users of something greater than just a platform like others that Fox Finance is not, because we're trying to offer a complete suite of products, and now we're trying to get cross-chain to offer the best experience for the users and to try to fill this gap from centralized to decentralized platforms.
Amazing. And Laura, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. So what I see is that the user experience, as Matteo was saying, is paramount, and this is what's going to differentiate a good and like a superior product. So if you have a really good user experience, that's what's going to draw the user to your platform, and that's where like sexes have been on top for quite a long time. But then other financial instruments are starting to realize this now. So.
Awesome. And Brad, I want to give you a chance to add anything because you are representing Equify, and that's what you guys do, right?
We're not an exchange, but we do have a built-in automated, a decentralized module to go from different assets. And I think the automated market making is the biggest improvement. With centralized exchanges, you still have order books. And you need to work with those order books, which requires market makers, which then is another barrier to entry for a lot of projects. Whereas with decentralized exchanges, the liquidity comes from the users, and there's a mechanism that creates the markets, the movements, the buy and sell orders, which is the biggest innovation since Uniswap launched. And it's very exciting to see that we can have a market. If you think about the history of exchanges, think of the people with papers in their hands trying to fill orders in a huge room like this. From that to now being able to automate that with programming and smart contracts, I think that has opened it up to billions more people, and that's very exciting.
Amazing. I love the insight. So while I have the experts on stage, I do also want to touch on yield farming and liquidity providing, which have been extremely popular ways for users to earn passive income in the DeFi world. Can you provide your perspective on the future trajectory, and how does TradFi, traditional financial products, how can they compete with the lucrative APYs that DeFi offers?
Well, we do have a yield product on our platform, and the most important thing in those type of yield farming products is understanding where the yield is coming from. Like, I know where my yield is coming from. When we had the collapse of UST with Terra, when they were paying 17%, I did not understand where that yield was coming from, like how it's generated. So I think if you want to put it in a competitive perspective, the TradFi platforms compete because they don't disclose where it's coming from. Traditionally, when you go to your bank and they say you earn 8% on this deposit, you don't ask them, where's that 8% coming from? That's both an advantage and a disadvantage, because if you don't know where it's coming from, but you trust the bank, they get more investment, more money in. If bank collapses or does something that you don't approve with it, you don't know how they're using your money. So DeFi allows more transparency if the founders are willing to give it, to show people this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm doing something positive for the world, or this is how I'm generating the yield. Like, we generate our yield from liquidity pool fees. So as long as there are trades happening, there's a return. When I put my money in, Bank of America, I don't know where that interest is coming from. They just say, Brad, we're paying you 4%, and I say, okay, 4%. They may be putting that money into arms manufacturing, supporting wars, supporting military industrial complex. I don't know any of that. Maybe I don't want to support those things. So that's the advantage and disadvantage of both systems.
And do you want to comment anything coming from Folks Finance on the future growth of users and the TVL in general? I see you guys have a pretty impressive TVL at Folks Finance. So
Yeah, thank you, because we made a lot of improvements in our user experience, in the onboarding of new users, by not giving them just yield farming, because yield farming can be think like an incentive program for users to get on board in your platform and get a high yield on their deposits. But we are doing something different, because we have also, aside from like the grants we get from Algorand Foundation, we have a particular system of incentives that can incentivize users in taking borrows. So we only boost usage, real usage of our platform. We don't boost just depositing and go away. That is a pretty bad thing to do for having a sticked liquidity, to have something that can be there and stay there. So we incentivize only the usage, the real usage of the platform that everyone can benefit from. So that's why Folks Finance is growing, and that's where we're going to go in the coming years.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I have a question for you, Laura. Depending where you're looking, you might see 50 to 70 billion TVL for, which is total value locked for all DeFi protocols, and we had a previous all-time high of about 177 billion. Do you think we will reach and break previous all-time highs? What's stopping us? What does the macro outlook need, and like what's missing for us to get back to previous all-time highs?
Right. So at a macro level, what we can see is, and I'm going to open a box, the box of regulation. And so one of the reasons that we have been held back is because of regulatory issues. We keep seeing that in the United States, for example, innovation is being halted because most companies are regulated in a way that is a regulation by enforcement. So they're not banned straight away. But what they are is forbidden to do certain things or certain activities, and as a response to that, we see a really big flow of companies that are going sideways. They go to Asia, they go to Southeast Asia, they go to the British Virgin Islands, or regulatory regimes which are much more optimal for their activities. And as a response to this, we are playing cat and mouse, like chasing, instead of having a regulatory regime that is more comprehensive, more open towards innovation, and is helping companies actually thrive, because this also builds the wealth of the different nations, right? So we see one of the latest pieces of regulation, the MiCA, happening in Europe, and now different nations are trying to follow up with this. We're trying to make it more comprehensive and more complete. But I think that in principle, what you need to have is a different approach, with governments not being too heavy-handed in order to foster more innovation. So as a response to you, that's what's halting us.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned the R word, so I'm going to build on that. Regulations and regulatories. So what are some of the challenges of maintaining regulatory compliance while ensuring privacy and security? Can you adhere to regulatory requirements while maintaining privacy for users?
Yes, so you can. The problem is that, in my view, decentralized finance is a response to a trust crisis that has been happening over generations in the world, right? So as Brad was mentioning earlier, we are eliminating the middleman. We don't have a bank that we trust anymore. We don't have a person who's gathering our data, which is what big data companies have been doing until now. So now, as a response to that, we do have banks that have KYC. We're seeing what the work around KYC is, and so the problem around digital identity is one that is being worked on, as we can see with the example of WorldCoin, which was really controversial and didn't happen to be the right way to solve it with biometric data.
Amazing. And Brad or Matteo, would any of you guys like to comment on some of the largest regulatory hurdles that we are facing?
Well, we are a licensed and regulated bank.
Okay.
So I am all for regulation when it actually helps people build new technologies, build new business models, and be able to do it on a global scale. Because without regulation, there's always those who are going to step one step too far into the boundaries. I mean, if you look at all of the hacks that happened in crypto, in DeFi, it was because of anonymity, because people thought we won't get, caught. And as soon as they get caught, they return the money. I mean, we have several examples of this. And of course, they go to jail, and it's unfortunate they give the whole industry a bad name. But there needs to be regulation so everyone understands the framework within which you can do certain things. It's human nature to push the boundaries, so we just need to do it in a sensible way that supports innovation. You don't want regulation by enforcement like, we see in US. That's not a good model, because then people don't want to innovate because they don't want to have enforcement action against them. You want regulation that supports innovation. And so the biggest hurdle is, how do you regulate but also allow for innovation? And this is a question that's still being answered by different governments globally. Everyone has a different approach. I was talking to some of my friends from Korea, and they were saying there's new security token laws coming in Korea, and they've been working on it for 4 years. So, excited to see what comes out of there. Obviously, United States being the largest market for these products and services, we're following that really closely to understand if there's going to be real meaningful dialogue between industry players and the regulators to get that there. But I think we need a global, the biggest hurdle that I see is.
Do you think we'll ever see trust after the huge Luna and USD crash? Will algorithmic stablecoins have a future in DeFi?
Algorithmic stablecoins are pretty huge topic to cover because they are very complex, can be very complex. But the thing is, what we've seen for Luna and the Terra situation is that there wasn't the right amount of liquidity backing the system, backing the conversion to other currencies. We've seen with the curve pool, the tree pool. And this is the huge problem of algorithmic stablecoins. The liquidity behind this kind of currencies. We had a $20 billion or something like that currency pegged to another, the US dollar with $500 million of liquidity and a sort of centralized backing of Bitcoin and some other currencies. So the problem was there, and no one was paying attention because the assets were just growing in value. Luna was skyrocketing at more than $140. So no one cared until it was too late. So one of the problems is that, and we've seen a shift in this period with Frax, the algorithmic stablecoin, the originally algorithmic in part stablecoins of Frax Finance that went from partly algorithmic to fully collateralized in, I think, a few weeks, because they are running this new upgrade that will change how Frax is working. So I think that this is the example of us acknowledging that algorithmic stablecoins can be beneficial, but also a huge pain for the DeFi if not developed well.
Thank you, Matteo. So we could talk about DeFi all day long, but we are coming to an end. So I do want to ask each of the panelists one question, and that is, in what ways is DEXTools poised to make a positive impact on the future of DeFi? And we could start with you, Laura.
Sure. So following up on your previous question, talking about trust, I think trust is a really big element and is the most important element in order to make business with anyone, right? Like trust has been the basis for everything. And you see Terra Luna collapse, you see Sam Bankman-Fried, and all these different cases that give the industry a really bad name, but that's not really the full potential now, is it? So what I see is that like platforms like DEXTools, they help bolster that image of the whole industry and what's positive, what's possible as a whole. So I would say, so far, what I've experienced with DEXTools has been really positive, and a really tight-knit community as well.
Beautiful.
I think that DEXTool is an important tool. I still use it to this day. For traders, like if you have to go for charting on certain coins on the DeFi, is one of the best platforms out there. And another thing that I want to briefly touch is that DEXTools adopts a very friendly due diligence approach. So they try to give the more information as possible on the contract side, on how much liquidity is there. So this is very important for our due diligence and to be aware of the risk of DeFi.
And Brad?
Well, I've been using DEXTools since before their token upgrade, almost from day one. And the first thing we did when we launched our token was to make sure our DEXTools score was up, because we're visual creatures. You know, no one is like Neo from Matrix. You don't look at the blockchain and see what you want to see and get the insights. Maybe some people do, but most of us, we want to see some visuals, and we want community feedback on things. You may know something I don't, and if we're doing the same trade and I have your information through your vote or through your comments, that helps a lot with my decisions. So DEXTools is a great platform and continues to evolve into something that really provides intrinsic value to the market and individual assets on it. So, I mean, what else do you want to do?
Thank you, Brad. That was amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, our discussion on DeFi's full potential is coming to an end. But that doesn't mean that your journey into DeFi has to end here either. I want to first thank our amazing panelists, and I want to extend a thank you to all the audience as well. And make sure to catch up with our panelists and mingle with the rest of the festival goers. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you, guys.